Okay, hello folks. Happy New Year. Gung Hei Fat Choy, everyone, and welcome. We're so glad that you can join us. Please remember to mute and turn your videos off if you are not a speaker or not part of the planning committee. I would like to start by introducing myself. My name is Leon Simeon. I will be a facilitator for this presentation today. Just a little bit more about myself. I'm a society unit director from the OPG local, and I work in nuclear training. I'm also a society board member and chair of the Coalition of Racialized Professionals. I use the pronouns he and him. So we have a very exciting presentation for you here today. So sit back, enjoy, and let us all learn something new. At this time, I would like for all of us to take a moment to acknowledge and reflect the land that we are on. I now would like to call on Sheena Lee from the IESO local to read our Indigenous land acknowledgement.
Thanks, Leon. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us at this lunch hour. We would like to start today by acknowledging that we are all gathered today together for this virtual event, and we are all situated on land near and far that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge the many different treaties and traditional territories that are located across Ontario. I myself am joining you today from Toronto, which is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. I acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit.
Thank you, Mercy Miigwech, Sheena. So today we are honored to have with us the president of the society and the IFPTE. I now would like to call upon Michelle Johnson, president of our society, to bring us greetings. Over to you, Michelle.
Thanks, Leon. And that was a beautiful traditional opening. Thanks for that, Sheena. It is my pleasure to be here with you today to learn about and celebrate the Lunar New Year. I want to thank the Coalition of Racialized Professionals for organizing today's Lunch and Learn. Though celebrating the Year of the Tiger is a joyful occasion, I think it is important that those of us who are not of Asian descent remain mindful of the continued and rising anti-Asian hate in our communities that has been exacerbated by the pandemic. A poll from December 2021 showed that 50% of Asian Canadians surveyed reported that relations between Asian and white people in Canada have worsened during the pandemic. The society has spoken out forcefully against anti-Asian hate and other forms of discrimination. And I hope that those of us who are here today and not of Asian descent will reflect on what we can do to be proactive in stopping anti-Asian hate. My thanks again to the Coalition of Racialized Professionals for organizing today, and to all who are celebrating. I wish you a happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year. Gung Hei Fat Choy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And that's a great message and a great reminder for all of us that when we do see hate, to stand up against it. We are equally honored to have with us the president of the IFPTE, Matt Biggs. As you are aware, the IFPTE represents over 80,000 members in Canada and the US. Matt is based out of the IFPTE International Office in Washington, DC. Please help me welcome Matt as he brings us greetings from the IFPTE. Over to you, Matt.
Leon, thank you very much. I really appreciate that kind introduction. Before I give my brief remarks, I do just want to acknowledge that, as you stated, I am located here in Washington, D.C., where I sit right now, and located on the ancestral lands of the Anacostans and neighbors, the ancestral lands of the Piscataway and Pamunkey's peoples. Thanks, Leon. So again, thanks a lot for the invitation to be here today. I'm honored to be here on behalf of the International. And I also, in addition to me being here, and I know you're going to hear from our Secretary Treasurer, I think next week or the week after, to honor Black History Month, but I want to bring greetings from Gay Henson, our Secretary Treasurer, as well. And I will be brief in my remarks here. but I just want to start off by commending the Coalition of Racialized Professionals at the Society for your great work within the society and within the larger labor movement. I know you work also with the Toronto and York Region Labor Council, which is critically important. Your council your committee helps to bring light to the forefront of those issues of importance to racialized professionals, not only in the workplace, but also within our communities and within our union, not only your local, but also IFPTE. You also, and you're to be commended for doing things like you're doing today, hosting events like you're doing today, learning and educational events. In today's program, of course, and lunch program is celebrating the Lunar New Year and bring awareness to our fellow union sisters and brothers, including myself, about its significance. And I did quite a bit of research on it before today's talk, so I even learned quite a bit about it myself. As many of you know, the Lunar New Year is celebrated by most Asian nations, including China, Vietnam, and South Korea. It's also a huge international holiday, celebrated by upwards of 1.5 billion people all across the globe, including, of course, in Canada and here in the United States. Many here in North America compare its significance to Thanksgiving or Christmas. And I've learned that it also symbolizes an opportunity for people to put the past behind them and look forward to a fresh start. This year's Lunar New Year was yesterday, February 1st, which is, of course, also the start of Black History Month, something you all will do another lunch to celebrate, I think, next week. It's a day, Lunar New Year is a day in a Black History Month, both to recognize the struggles and accomplishments of two great communities who have faced great challenges and extreme racism over centuries. These are challenges that continue, unfortunately, to face these communities today. And while some have tried through history to pit these two communities together and their struggles against each other, pit these two communities and their struggles against each other. We must not be fooled by these efforts. We in labor have a commitment to set this record straight. It is a fact that the Asian and Black communities have a long history of working together and supporting each other in their respective struggles. For example, Grace Lee Boggs, a famous Asian activist who died at the age of 100 in 2015, she worked alongside some of the most ardent civil rights leaders of our time and helped organize Black auto workers in Detroit. And Frederick Douglass, the former slave and abolitionist, gave a speech way back in 1869 against deranged and anti-Chinese immigration policies. Yet sadly today, we continue to see racism on the rise. We see heightened anti-Asian racism that our fellow citizens and indeed our own fellow union members are experiencing. We see efforts in the United States to rewind back to the Jim Crow days of the 50s and 60s to deny the rights of African Americans to vote. What was supposed to be a freedom convoy this past weekend in Ottawa ended up being a despicable display of racism, sadly. As a union, I am proud, and Michelle just mentioned what the society statements the society have made, and they're strong statements against racism. But as a union, we at IFPT are also proud that in this face of racism, we acknowledge it. We acknowledge it's there. We remind everybody it's there, and we've publicly and strongly deplored it. And we called for actions by our elected officials and lawmakers to expend all necessary resources to beat it back. To your credit, the Coalition of Racialized Professionals within the society has done so as well. We at IFPT applaud you for your participation in bringing these issues to light, not only within the Society of United Professionals, but also at the Toronto and York Region Labor Council. We also applaud you for your partnership with the Chinese Workers Network and your collective work together to fight for better living and working conditions for working families, for helping Chinese workers who are interested in joining a union, and for supporting Chinese union members interested in seeking leadership positions within the broader labor movement. And we thank you for bringing transparency to misdirected forward government policies and fighting to do such things as repeal Bill 124, the wage suppression bill, and Bill 195, I'm sorry, which allows employers to circumvent collective bargaining agreements. Both are policies that obviously impact society members directly. You also are calling for 10 permanent sick days for workers, among other legislative policies you're pushing. In closing, I want to mention that I did do a bit of research about the Coalition of Racialized Professionals before this talk, and I saw that your committee's mandate is to, quote, advance issues affecting racialized professionals in the union, the workplace, and the communities where we live. Make no mistake about it, this is a critically important role that you play in our labor movement and within IFPTE, one that we appreciate. After all, as a labor movement at all levels, we must always fight for what's right. We fight for labor justice, we fight for moral justice, civil justice, racial justice, and equity. As we celebrate this Lunar New Year, we must continue these fights together. Happy Year of the Tiger. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you for that message. So inspiring. We're so happy to have you here and glad that you can join us. So before we get to our presentation, I'd like to acknowledge the following individuals who have made this all possible. So our committee, this is a subcommittee of the Coalition of Racialized Professionals. So Lehman Fung, Daniel Lam, Andrew Lee, Sheena Lee, Gordon Jung, and Anna Liu. So as Matt mentioned, the Coalition of Racialized Professionals, we are an equity group within the society. We meet regularly to discuss issues facing members in the workplace, our union, and community. It is open to everyone, racialized and non-racialized. In fact, we encourage allies to join us. You can learn more about us by visiting the society website, or you can email us at rp@thesociety.ca. So a couple of ground rules. So please make sure that if you're not a speaker, you mute and take your video off. We do encourage you to use the chat to communicate. In fact, we would like you to participate. You may also use the reactions, let us know if you're feeling happy or sad. And as you are aware, this presentation will be recorded for later use. So if you are an elected rep, I would like to acknowledge all the hard work that the elected reps within the society do. So at this time, if you are an elected rep, if you're an LVP, a delegate, please state your local and the position that you hold so that you can be recognized. I would also like to ask that if you do celebrate the Lunar New Year, state in the chat your local, the country or region where you're from, and perhaps the language that's spoken. And finally, we will have an opportunity for a Q&A at the end following our closing remarks. So today we are going to learn about the Lunar New Year. What is it? Background and history, and share some family traditions and celebrations. And before we get into the presentation, I always like to start off with a fun activity. And so I'm going to start by posing 2 trivia questions to you. I work in nuclear training, so I'm always, this is always a fun activity for me. So there are 2 questions. One is an easy one. You've already heard the answer, so I expect everyone to know this, but it's going to come down to who can type the fastest in the chat. Chris is going to monitor the chat, and so the first correct answer will receive a prize. So here we go. The first question is, 2022 is the year of which zodiac animal? Chris, I wish you had your Trivial Pursuit sound going there. Do we have a correct answer?
Hey, Leon, it's Lehman. We do, and it is, let me just double check here, Sarah Zhang.
Oh, congratulations, Sarah. So we'll get your information and we'll send you a prize. Okay, the next question I don't expect you all to know this, but I'm sure there are people who will get this. So one of the most spectacular sights during the Lunar New Year festival is the Dragon and Lion dance. This dance is based on the story of which mythical legend? Da, da, da. Chris, maybe you can provide the sounds for us.
Sorry, I was going to say, it looks like we already have a winner. Looks like Solly was the first one in.
Solly, congratulations. You're actually one of my members. So excellent.
Thank you, Leon.
No problem. At this time, I would like to pass it over to our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is Gordon Jiang. Gordon started his career with OPG at Nanticoke, the coal station in 2005, and then moved to Niagara in 2010. His base position and skill set is in project management, and will soon be transitioning to a new role as a society training supervisor for renewable generation, health, and safety. Gordon is passionate about and has been a key influencer for OPG's equity, diversity, and inclusion initiatives, having participated as a committee member across 3 locations across OPG. In 2017, Gordon was instrumental in forming the first ED&I committee at one of OPG sites at 800 Kipling. Please help me welcome Gordon. Over to you, Gordon.
Thank you very much, Leon. Let me just do a sound check. Can you hear me? Yep, and you can see the screen that I'm sharing. It should say Happy Lunar New Year, and there's a picture of a tiger. Yes? Excellent. Thank you, Chris, for confirming. Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Gordon Jiang. I am a society member, been with OPG since 2005, been involved in the ED&I committee I'm going to say 2012 or 2011 or thereabouts, something that I'm very passionate about. So this presentation is of Lunar New Year. It is purely informative and hopefully will give you a reason to celebrate, but really who needs a reason to party, right? Be festive, uplift your spirits. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And I'm absolutely nervous now because I didn't know it was going to be recorded. So hopefully everything works out okay. There are parts of this presentation which are interactive, but for the greater part, I will answer and probably will get Leon as my MC here to canvas out some audience help. But for the greater part, you can leave your questions at the end. That would be great. So, who celebrates the Lunar New Year? So the Lunar New Year is most commonly recognized as Chinese New Year, but for political correctness, we refer to it as Lunar New Year. And it isn't only the Chinese that celebrate it. A more inclusive reference would be to call it Lunar New Year. So this year, Lunar New Year falls on February the 1st, 2022. It is the celebration that is not just one day, but it's up to 15 days and spans from new moon to the full moon. So we'll get into this later, but that means next year it will not necessarily fall on February the 1st, but it's all based on a lunar calendar. So 25% of the world population celebrate Lunar New Year. An interesting fact of that 25%, in the same category, 18% of the world population, that's 1 in every 5 person in the world, is Chinese. Don't believe me? Google it. The above is 2017 stats, followed closely by India. So why that is significant to note out is that people in China will make about 3 billion trips over 40 days to celebrate Lunar New Year. This is the world's largest annual human migration, and it's in the world. By comparison, the next, which would be the annual Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, usually includes about 2 million people. And obviously these are pre-COVID stats. Imagine since 2020, the effect that the lack of this human migration has affected the world market, travel, and COVID has definitely had a different spin since 2020. So the Gregorian or Julian calendar, which we're all familiar with, what we use typically January, February, March, all the way through, is based on the solar calendar. And this sort of calendar gives a date based on the position of the sun in relation to the stars behind it. The lunar calendar follows moon phases. From one new moon to the next new moon is considered 1 month. The lunar calendar, with scientific information, with an error of only 2 seconds per year, is roughly 10 times more accurate than our traditional Gregorian calendar, and is deemed one of the most accurate calendar systems ever devised. There are no correction factors like leap years, where you have to add February 29th as required in our typical Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar was named after Pope Gregory VIII in the 1500s and was has modified the Julian calendar to make leap year corrections. So February the 1st is when we're indicating the new moon. So just another brief history lesson. Ever wonder why September, October, November, December are not the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th month? Well, you have to blame the Romans. Originally, the Roman calendar had 10 months and consisted of 304 days. And my Roman is not up to par, so Martius, Aprilius, and you can do the reading. September was the 7th month, October the 8th, 9th, November, all the way carrying through. July and August, what happened was in Julius Caesar in 45 BC introduced the Julian calendar, which is Julius, pretty subtly, and included 2 months, January and February, named after Roman gods Janus and February. July and August replaced Quintilis and Sextilius to honor Julius and Augustus Caesar. And if they had their way, maybe September would have been called something like Tibius or Antonius and Germanicus. But here we are. The average length of a calendar month in days in the lunar calendar varies from 29 to 30 days. The lunar calendar is quite mathematical. And for those interested, Google it. Isaac Newton reference it is way over my head. Who still uses the lunar calendar? It is a religious and festive holiday and falls on the same calendar every year. So if you actually have your calendar here and you see these little dark circles and half circles and open circles, that's actually what the lunar calendar is all about. So like I said, if the holiday of falls and changes every year. For example, Easter doesn't fall on the exact same day. Easter is based on the lunar calendar, which is the first Sunday after the full moon. There's other holidays that also follow the lunar calendar, and some are listed here: Rosh Hashanah, Loy Krathrock, Sunuwar, Buddha's birthday, Diwali, Ramadan, or some others that actually follow the lunar calendar. So here, I'm going to, I'll have you maybe preface this.恭喜發財for the Lunar New Year is the prevalent expression that we hear. And it is actually Cantonese Chinese. And it doesn't mean Happy New Year, but rather congratulations on good fortune. And maybe I might canvass help in the pronunciation. I'll have you know, my name, I'm Korean by nationality. So understanding Chinese and the different languages, maybe I might get somebody who's Cantonese to kind of help with the pronunciation. Leon, can you help me out there?
Yeah, I think we have Daniel Lam. Can you help us out with this? You can give us a brief introduction and say it for us.
Sounds great. That'll be my pleasure. Great job so far there, Gordon. So Cantonese is my native tongue there. As Gordon was saying, that it's 恭喜發財, which really means prosperity. If you wanted to say something with regards to 新年快樂, 新年快樂 would mean Happy New Year. So it's 新年快樂, but 恭喜發財 is also a very common term there as well too. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a tidbit of knowledge, Cantonese has many different tones. I think there's like, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 tones? Is it 8 tones?
Yeah, it's quite high.
something like that. So there's and Mandarin. We'll jump right into Mandarin. Somebody else help me with Mandarin here.
Do I have Andrew Lee? Can you help us out? I believe you.
Sure thing. I'm Andrew Lee. I'm the unit director for ISO Local 45. My background, I am Canadian, born and raised in the GTA. My parents and grandparents, however, immigrated from Beijing, China. We speak Mandarin, and today I'll be teaching you some phrases to wish others a Happy New Year. So Happy New Year in Mandarin is 新年快乐. And a common greeting that's often used along with Happy New Year is 恭喜发财, which translates to wishing you prosperity in the new year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Andrew and Daniel. So Mandarin, I did spend some time visiting through Beijing and Tianjin and things like that too. There's 4 tones. Cantonese has 6 tones. I think I got the reader notes. If you're not careful, true fact, if you don't have your tones right, you may inadvertently call your mother-in-law a horse. True fact, either accidentally, deliberately. Who are we to judge? Anyways, for interest, to say Happy New Year in Chinese was explained. There's other languages which we can actually learn. So I don't recall exactly how we had set this up there, but Korean, does anybody want to take a gander on pronunciation? I kind of wrote this out phonetically, but I thought it might be fun to see how close a foreigner, maybe a non-Asian person, would try this. So Leon, maybe help me out here.
Oh boy, I can't see who's on this here, but who do I get to pick on? Let's see here. Solly, would you like to try this?
Yeah, let's hear Solly try her attempt at speaking Korean.
Okay, let me try. Sai hai bok mahni batu seyo.
Excellent. Very good. Congratulations. It's
Thank
you would pass for an honorary Korean. The way to pronounce it is 새해 복 많이 받으세요. So that's you were spot on. If you went to Korea, they would understand you and invite you to their home and all that kind of stuff. Very good. So the second one is Japanese. For lack of time, maybe we'll just kind of go through this, and I can share the way to pronounce in Japanese. And if I click this button, hopefully you can hear this. So this is my best stab, and my Japanese is almost non-existent. Akemashite omedetou, right?
Akemashite omedetou.
Did that sound come out?
Yes, it
Yes.
did.
It did.
Yes.
Okay, very good. And then Vietnamese, I think we do have some Vietnamese amongst our society. Is there a Vietnamese person that can maybe say how it would be said properly in Vietnamese? If you're
Do we
Vietnamese.
have Sung? Are you
Yeah.
in the chat? If you can unmute yourself and say it for us.
Maybe they're shy.
Yeah, I'm just going through the list here.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, for the essence of the time, I'm going to say Chumung Namoi, and let's hear how it really sounds.
Chúc mừng năm mới.
So, okay, yeah, and they do help you with the intonations and things like that, but that's another way that another Asian nationality says Happy New Year. Okay, well, let's just keep on going right on. So this here is the predominant Chinese who celebrate New Year, Lunar New Year, place this symbol, and it's pronounced Fu, at the front of their home or office on Lunar New Year's. So this would have been February 1st, to invite wealth, luck, and to pour into their homes or offices. This is not necessarily a superstition, I might add, but rather a Chinese tradition. And so I'm going to just maybe flash this one on the screen here. Anybody know what the difference between the two are? And maybe if you're a beautiful non-Asian, and I will call you beautiful because Americans are known as Meigo. Mei means beautiful. And if you find yourself kind of cocking your head this way, You are headed in the right directions, but before you hurt yourself, let me invert it for you. It is in fact upside down. Why is Fu upside down? Does it mean that they made a mistake? It isn't. It means fortune or luck. And there's a pun in Mandarin that says Fu Dao Lo. I may have the tones wrong, but it really means luck or fortune has arrived. The word Dao can also imply to fall down or turn upside down. So literally turning the character Fu upside down is a play on words implying fortune has arrived. If you have that tidbit knowledge and you're eating in a Chinese restaurant and you point that out, boys, they would be really thrilled and they'll actually love it. You'll thrill them to bits that you know that. Another way to look at this is this from a Christian perspective. Blessing is something that God gives. So when he's writing the character, he sees it right way, but when he's giving it to you, you're receiving it upside down. So that's an interesting perspective. So you've heard of Feng Shui, or in the West, whether it's the signs of the zodiac, reading stars, tarot cards, reading palms, or good old fortune cookies. Is it superstition or science? Some people swear up and down by astrology, but maybe that's a different topic. The lunar calendar follows a 12-year cycle, which repeats itself. And the year of your birth, again, not the Gregorian calendar, but lunar years marks the year of a zodiac animal. Buddha is believed to have invited animals from all over the world to visit, to which only 12 visited. In return, he honored them by naming years in the order they arrived. The first animal that arrived is said to have been the rat. 2020 was the first year of the 12-year cycle, which was the year of the rat, which was appropriate for all of us. I think there was a meme on some social media that said that we all went into hiding, only came up for food, scurried away when people came close, all due to COVID. So the year of the rat was very appropriate. This year is the year of the tiger. And according to Chinese zodiac, there's personality traits where the tigers are deemed to be brave, confident, and competitive. And I'll just leave this up for a brief moment. So maybe you can find your year and validate your own personality traits. I'm a pig. I was born the year of the pig, which is true because I'm a foodie. I love food. Pigs are generally compassionate, generous, diligent, but we sometimes can be very stubborn too. So what does it mean if this is your year? So unlike conventional zodiac, if this is your year, it doesn't mean, yay, this is your year in an uplifting way. It's believed this is the year to be more wary, more cautious. Chinese astrology is embedded in Chinese culture, like I said, as tradition rather than superstition. So according to Chinese astrology, people in their zodiac year are believed to offend Tai Sui, the god of age, and incurs curse. So it's believed to bring nothing but bad luck. So this happens every 12 years. And again, it's a superstition or tradition, if you want to call it. So consider 12th, 24th, 36th, 48th, 60th years as years to be cautious. Red, if you ever go to Chinatown, you'll find that there's a lot of red around you around this season. It's one of the luckiest colors in Chinese culture, and it signifies prosperity, loyalty, success, and happiness. And red can drive away bad luck and evil spirits, if you believe in that thing. You cannot buy, for example, red clothing for yourself. And depending on how strict you follow the tradition, it has to be bought by a spouse or a family member or friend. Besides wearing red, you can also wear jade accessories to ward off bad luck, and pendants and earrings and rings and bracelets. And so if you yourself are a tiger, or you perhaps see any tigers that you know of moping around with a heavy head or weary soul, please be compassionate, be caring, be kind, feed them, maybe buy them a virtual Timmy's or something like that. In Korea, this is my culture. So a Lunar New Year celebration is called Seollal. It is one of the most important traditional Korean holidays. The celebration usually lasts 3 days, the day before the Korean New Year itself, and the day after Korean New Year. There's 4 days that are granted public holidays, no work, yay, where 1 day is set aside to travel to your hometown to visit parents and relatives. Koreans not only travel within the country, but also around the world. And again, these past years, it's been very different as we celebrate Seollal in a virtual setting. The most popular tradition for children is called sebe, in which typical young children, but sometimes even adults too, pay their respects. The highest level of respect that a person can give to somebody is to bow to them. Not so common amongst Western culture, maybe if you see a king or queen, but the Eastern culture, we very much still practice that tradition. And when we bow to the elders then acknowledge your respect and give you envelopes of money, which then if you see that little child in that picture, he's receiving with both hands as the highest form of respect. This was me growing up. I still do that. I have kids, they're mixed kids, who still have embraced this culture. I actually had Facebook FaceTime chat with them where they actually did their sebe towards me. And of course that warmed my heart, and I wasn't able to give them actual money itself. They're off to college and things like that. But you know, it's very easy for kids to learn how to do sebe, especially if you know you're getting an envelope of money at the end of that. So interesting fact about Koreans too, about my culture, we don't have tones. We use a lot of intonation in our speech. So 새해 복 많이 받으세요 means a lot. And when you extend that, it just means a tremendous amount. And hope you win the lottery, so to speak. So that even carries through even when I speak English. And when I say that was huge, maybe that's the Korean in me kind of carrying over and expect it to be colossal and enormous of epic proportions. And it's the Korean in me. So this year, feel free to honor the tradition if you want to, or start a new one if you haven't, by giving money envelopes to your kids. I'm sure they'll love it, and they'll learn awfully quick how to pay your respects. So I told you that I am a foodie through and through. We can't talk about Lunar New Year and leave it without talking, of course, the food. As a pig, or you're the pig, Koreans eat this bottom right-hand corner called tok mandukuk. And it's you can get this at any Korean restaurant, not just in New Year's. You can get it anytime. It's actually very good, made of rice cakes, and but it's traditionally served during New Year's. We're having it this Saturday, actually. So the Vietnamese tet, I think it's tet Nguyen Dan. Hopefully I got the pronunciation right. They serve sticky rice wrapped in banana leaves, which is banh chung, boiled chicken, which is ca luoc, and Vietnamese sauces, which is it gio cha or gio cha? My Vietnamese is not up there, but if you don't want to get too exotic, anybody heard of the Mandarin, Chinese restaurant Mandarin? They have an Chinese New Year dumpling festival campaigns where they serve dumplings and pot stickers, and can't wait for COVID to end so we can go to Mandarin again. So that brings me to the conclusion of my presentation. Just want to thank you for your attention. If there's any questions or things you have, feel free to peg any of your Asian colleagues. You can find a whole bunch of information from Google and YouTube's. And if you're a foodie like me, visit the restaurants in Chinatown, Koreatown, or Vietnamese, or you know, any other nationalities that do celebrate this with POV, proof of vaccination, because that's going to be the requirement for the longest time, I guess, before you can actually do indoor dining. Anyways, thank you for your attention.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gordon. That was such an informative presentation. I really enjoyed that. I've learned so much. I always learn something new by
Good job,
listening
Gordon.
to you.
Thank you.
So at this time, before I get into our closing remarks, I know that some of you have to get back to work. So we've got 2 trivia questions for you. We've got some more prizes to give out. So I hope you are all listening. So my trivia questions will start. The first one is a true or false. So Lunar New Year celebrations may last up to 15 days, beginning on February 1st. Is that true or false? Do we have a correct answer, Chris?
Since it's true or false, there's a lot of them that flowed in, and I believe the response you're looking for is false. Am I correct?
The correct answer is false. That was a bit of a trick question. So
that would be
the
Francois.
first part is
Francois
correct.
Bedard.
So it may last up to 50. It may last up to 15 days, but it doesn't always start on February 1st. So it's based on the lunar calendar. So the start
Francois
date may change.
Bedard is our winner. So Francois, please provide your info to me.
Awesome. Thank you, Francois, for that. And the next question is, children pay their respects to their parents and elders by doing this. So what does children do to pay their respect to their parents and elders? I see a lot of correct answers floating by. So
I think Robert Mitchell was nope, she said tricky, sorry. Alice, I think is our first one.
Oh, great. Congratulations, Alice. And I'll just throw a little bonus question in there. Does anyone remember what that was called in Korean? I believe.
Choy. I believe it's called Choy. Sebe, sorry, Sebe.
Tebe is the correct answer. I had that written down, so. Okay, we'll give you a prize. So at this time, I'd like to thank you all for your patience, for listening. I hope you all learned something new. If you can, please take something away from this presentation. And I'd like to call on Lehman Fung for our closing remarks.
Thank you, Leon. Just want to thank Gordon for a wonderful presentation and for the Coalition of Racialized Professionals for planning team for putting on a wonderful presentation today. And to thank our guest speakers, Michelle and Matt, for their opening words. So that concludes today's presentation. I know people are busy, and we want to thank all the society members that came out today to listen to this presentation. We will be staying around for some Q&A for if people want to ask some questions. Other than that, that concludes today's presentation, and thank you very much for attending.